Hello, beautifuls. Hello, hello, hello. I'm filming this video to give you guys a little insight on how I've been navigating through my healing process right now. This has been with shadow work, inner child healing, nervous system healing, my body healing, and overall just trauma healing. Repressed memories have been coming up, ancestral, generational trauma has been coming up. You know, in hindsight, these things are really fascinating. We start to see kind of how everything is linking together, how it's been coming up. We start to see the patterns, and we start to notice this beautiful awareness that we have. It's fascinating to be a part of more intense breakdowns and still have that conscious awareness of what's going on, you know, taking note of things, guiding myself through the process. And yeah, it's really helpful. It's like having a guide or the higher self coming in, my intuition and that awareness, that consciousness being like, hey, this is what's happening, here's this. However, it doesn't make it any easier sometimes to go through the process. Sometimes it's super helpful because that voice will come in and it will remind me of the tools that I have, of the power that I hold and the love that I am. And I know for me, it's always super helpful to be able to hear that repeated to me, affirmed to me by my loved ones if I'm going through like a mental breakdown or what people call panic attacks, anxiety, or anything that's hugely emotionally charged, right? That can be really helpful to receive from outer sources, from people that I love. And also, I'm in this process of really anchoring in that voice for myself. I realize that to an extent that voice is really powerful for me. To an extent that awareness can be really, really helpful for me. So what I want to share that I've been navigating through is memories coming up, beliefs coming up, certain thought forms coming up that are tied to generational trauma, that are tied to current trauma that I am processing and moving through. And it has led me to these outbursts of protection, complete survival. There's this part of me that comes in that feels full fear and is like, okay, this is a life or death situation. And it's not even just like a physical death. This is like a mental and emotional breakdown, a mental and emotional death that it's fearing at this time. It's fearing a lack of love. It's fearing not having the ability to belong in a way that makes sense. And being able to go through this process of creating space to really see what is going on, who this part of me is, you know, that's coming through and taking over, because it feels like I'm out of control, right? When you are experiencing really intense anxiety or panic attacks, or a mental breakdown, sometimes an emotionally charged situation, it can feel completely out of control because the body's not feeling safe. The nervous system is like, okay, we need to turn on hyper arousal, like we're in sympathetic. This is our chance for fight or flight. Often for me, it's shut down. So this has been my strategy. And this has been really key for me to realize this. So any of you that are kind of in this process of trauma healing are experiencing that, you know, survival mode coming up a lot more, feeling like you can't necessarily fully ground and balance yourself all the time, like it's okay. I want to let you know that the awareness piece is a part of the process and a part of the healing. So just know that you are already on the path of healing. But overall, what was super helpful was to realize that this way of reacting, this way of protecting myself is a strategy that I have created since I was a child. And being able to look at it in this way, seeing that that's my strategy for when I do not feel safe, when I am potentially in danger, especially when it revolves around the need to belong, to feel loved. If there's any sense of like a lack of love in certain areas, like this part will try and come in, it'll try to shut me down. I'll be in a place where it's difficult to speak. Like I literally don't speak. I'm in full tears. It's a fully emotional and intense experience. It's very physical. The anxiety tends to like take over my body. My heart starts to race. So all of that is happening. And I realized that my judgment toward wanting to regulate myself, toward wanting to be somewhere else, was only making it so much more harder for me to regulate for me to come to a place of homeostasis within, or at least to recognize that, like, hey, it's okay that this part of me is coming up. I call this part of me, this strategy, the protector. It's protecting me. It's saying that it's not even safe to say anything. This is something that I experienced when I was a child. Like, it was easier for me to just not speak, to be the good girl, and to not necessarily show up in a way that, would ruffle any feathers, right? It was so much easier for me to be in the background, to be accepted, and to be what other people wanted me to be, which is very difficult. So I noticed that this strategy, okay, I realized that that's like the protector aspect of me. That's the way I've learned to be. It's not something I want to continue. This is not the way that I want to handle certain situations. And this anger piece that really came in when I was a teenager that I didn't realize was such a big deal until the past couple of years, was this frustration, this impatience, this like, talking back to my dad and getting really short with people, wanting things to happen so much faster, wanting to be by myself, wanting like everyone to just leave, right? As the wind picks up, it's like, oh, there's a lot of anger. So I realized that at a certain point when I was learning a lot more about past life regression and everything, like past life regression doesn't have anything to do with it, but my teacher at that time was she just asked me randomly, like, are you mad? Are you angry? Like, do you have anger? Do you feel anger? And I said, I think so. This was a few years ago. I was like, I think I am. And it was interesting to see my relationship with anger. Even though I've been doing all this healing work and inner child healing, I haven't really created space for anger to be anything. I didn't let anger out when I was a child. I kept all of that in. And the same goes for my sadness and my tears. So there was a point in my teen years where it was really difficult for me to cry. And at some point, as I matured into an adult and I realized the beauty and power of crying and how cathartic it was and how beautiful of a release that was for these emotions to actually be moved through my body and energy system, was like all I did was like I was crying. I would watch things to make me cry. I would listen to music to make me cry, and it was a beautiful thing. So I realized that I haven't created that space for anger. And I'm seeing as what I'm working through and healing through right now is really intense for my body. It's made me feel really fatigued sometimes, really tight and sore after these huge emotional outbursts and bouts of like fear and panic. And yeah, it almost feels like a mental attack of these certain programs and thought forms that are coming up, like these stories that I have about myself. It's like, all right, everybody go in, send in, I'm not enough, I'm a burden, nobody wants, So it's like, send them in those moments. And I have to like remind myself like, hey, I know what's happening here. You're trying to protect yourself, and this is not how we're going to go about it. And I realize that there is a trust piece that needs to be here. I have been able to have some support from a psychologist and a somatic therapist in the process. And it's been so helpful to have other perspectives of what I'm going through and to see that like the safety I get to create needs to be in my body, that there needs to be a sense of trust that I'm able to handle this without this part of me, this like survival aspect needing to like explode. So that was really helpful to realize, and that process of so much going on, so much anger. So I realized I needed to really connect with that part of me that was trying to protect, with that strategy, with whatever memories were kind of coming up, showing me how I got to this place, and also recognizing more recent events and memories that came up, and to not necessarily say that this is wrong or this is bad or this is not the way I should be going about things, but more so recognizing that like, okay, no, this is fully valid. Like, obviously there was a moment where I was not feeling that sense of love, that I I would like to, I was not experiencing the love, or a boundary was crossed, or trust was broken, or whatever it may be. That's valid. So I had to go through a time, I didn't have to, but I did, and it was very helpful to go through really recognizing how valid it all was, even if it was not the reaction or response that I would have chosen now to move into, to take in these situations and in these big outbursts. I say big because they were just really intense, and they brought up a lot of different emotions and moments from my childhood and teen years, and just like also ancestral memories were coming up as well, to just like, whoa, it's like the floodgates were open. And I've had experiences like this before, but more so when I was doing light language and I was kind of like holding space for myself to do that. And here it was like I was already triggered, I was already kind of feeling like a mess and fully in survival mode, and then all of this stuff came up. So it's been really intense, and I'm really grateful that I have a sense of acceptance for the experience, no matter how it's seen or viewed or judged by others, or how it's even understood, recognizing that like others will not understand you unless you are actually expressing yourself, unless you are here sitting them down and sharing your experience. And this is a really huge thing as someone that had suppressed my expression for so long. I'm grateful that I'm able to see that and sense that and be aware of it and recognize that like, okay, hey, this is kind of a step up from what I used to do in my strategy of survival. But now I'm ready to be angry. I'm ready to speak my mind. I'm ready to do all of those things. But at this point in my healing journey, that's not something I can just blurt out, to people. It could be a lot and intense. And this is where I feel like, those rage rituals, or like having healthy spaces to release anger, or a neutral party that is able to hold space for the anger to be released. Because at some level, a part of me going through this trauma healing felt like I needed someone there to like listen to me so much. So many times I was like, I just need someone to listen to me. I just need to be heard, to be felt, to be understood, right? I needed to express. Being able to do that to an extent, but it's nice to have a neutral party or at least a space to release that without it needing to go towards, my loved ones who love me so much and want me to be okay and want to like fix and want to just have like all of these preconceived, not even just judgments, but beliefs around certain things. So I highly suggest finding that neutral space where you can release and express that anger. This is something that I'm still moving through. You could probably sense it. Like she's got some anger, she's got some fire. I'm definitely feeling very firing, but also very watery. Like I feel like a total storm of alchemy, and this is just a really beautiful thing. And I just got off my moon. I'm a full moon bleeder. Ladies, who else? Right now at this time it does shift and change, but I've been feeling like that huge spark of energy, like a lot moving through me, a lot being shifted and changed, and being able to accept where I'm at and to recognize that like, okay, just because these emotional outbursts or these panic attacks, whatever you want to call them, I'm talking to myself, whatever you want to call them, comes up again, it doesn't mean it needs to be the same. The awareness, whether it's in hindsight, in reflection, during, is a part of the healing. It's so important to recognize that is a part of the healing. That's not the only part, but this gives us an opportunity to understand those parts of ourselves, that survival aspect of ourselves, that part that is triggered, the shadow, the part that feels wounded or hurt. We get to really recognize the physical aspect of that. Like, how does our body change? How does our demeanor change? How do we speak? What emotions come up, what thoughts come up, because it feels like a totally different state, but it is a part of you. It's a part of me. So being able to bring more curiosity and love and acceptance to those spaces, to not say like, this is me, but to give myself an opportunity to learn more about this state so that I can continue learning more about how it is that I want to respond now as a fully embodied woman, moving forward. What does that look like? It doesn't mean I need to be there right now, but at least I know what I'm choosing. I'm creating this space so that the survival aspect can trust me. I can trust myself to move forward and respond differently, to take care of myself from a place that feels more aligned to who I am now and my values now, and not from this place of like this really terrified little girl. Oh, yeah, so this is what I've been navigating through at this time. So it's been a bit inconsistent. I felt really rocky. I am now feeling a lot more stable and grounded, but there are days, there are times, there are periods where I don't, and really honoring that while I'm still in this powerful phase of like creating. There's so much that I'm creating and in the process of doing, but I'm taking it really easy. So throughout this year, this is kind of what I've been moving through. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on where I'm at. I hope that this offers a bit of inspiration and can offer some insight into this process of trauma healing and, moving stored energy, the process of alchemy, of rewiring beliefs, and going through these really intense experiences that do feel like they're out of our control. I will mention a couple other things that have been super helpful, and it's been energy work. I've been really utilizing so much more of my light language, moving through the chakra system, releasing every single day, doing a clearing and a shielding every single day, calling in support every single day, the things that I usually do, but I'm like really anchoring in to make sure that that's happening every day, because there was a point where I did stop for a little bit and I could sense and feel the difference, and being able to come outside and place my hands on the earth to set an intention to let her hold me in this process is really powerful. To let the elements hold me, to utilize medicines. So that has been game changer, as well as creating new memories. This has been so helpful and so key. Just little adventures just in nature that I don't even just have to be adventures, like just experiences to get myself kind of out of the house in new spaces. Creating space, creating perspective, right, is so important. And this has been a huge message in this time, is to create that space so that I can then see things a lot more clear, and it's definitely been so helpful. I hope that this helps. I hope that this offers as a divine reminder, I guess, this of how I've been navigating the healing process at this time for me. I'm really grateful for it. I really am. In hindsight, I'm always just so grateful. Even in the moment, I'm like already super excited about what I get to process, and some things do feel a lot more difficult and more heartbreaking, and it's definitely a process that I am getting used to offering myself love within, really liberating that love within myself to be the medicine in those moments, to keep my heart open and to recognize that I can still feel all of this. I can feel the whole spectrum of emotions right now and still feel love. I can still be love in that time, and to recognize like you don't have to show up as this one-dimensional being, because you're not. You're a multidimensional being. All right, I'm gonna let y'all go. I hope you have a beautiful, lovely rest of your night, your day, your experience, your moments. Thank you for being here. Please do comment down below if there's anything that you want to share, anything that resonated. I hope to see y'all in our monthly lives and our soul circles and all of the things coming up, because I'm still popping in here offering the offerings, and it's all just completely led by spirit and my soul. And I'm very, very grateful to continue to have this space to share and express and to channel. It has been so helpful to continue my passions in this process of healing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving. And I hope to see you in another video.